During the 2021-22 regular season, over 500 NBA players attempted a total of over 200,000 shots. But some shooters and some shots are better than others.
Let's take a tour of the basketball court and identify this season's most prolific, most accurate, and least accurate shooting performances.
Even though three-pointers are getting more popular every year, the best shots in the game are still in the lane, and many of the league's most valuable players thrive in this old-school area. It makes sense then that Nikola Jokic led the league in paint buckets this season. As a scorer, he does a majority of his damage in the paint with a creative array of dunks, layups, and other short rangers. He has a great touch for a player of his size, and he always seems to make the right play. But as prolific as Jokic was, he wasn't the most efficient down here. That distinction goes to his fellow Western Conference center, Rudy Gobert. Gobert is not nearly the offensive weapon that Jokic is, but he is a dunking machine. His 7'9" wingspan makes him an ideal pick-and-roll lob target and a dangerous put-back dunker. Folks, this is a high-percentage shot selection. On the flip side, no volume scorer in the paint was as inefficient as New York's R.J. Barrett. Yes, Barrett is making strides toward becoming a potential all-star for the Knicks, but he needs to improve his finishing. For the second straight season, he's the least accurate volume shooter in the paint.
The closer he gets to the hoop, the worse he shoots.
Okay, let's move into the mid-range, which is dominated by some of the NBA's biggest names. No two scorers in the world were as prolific near the baselines as Kevin Durant and Devin Booker this season. Booker's ability to create and to convert his own jumpers in the mid-range is one reason the Suns' offense was so impossible to stop all year long. And despite missing a lot of time with injuries this year, Durant still managed to tie Booker with 84 made jumpers in these areas. But it's not just volume with KD. Nobody, not even Book, can hold a candle to Durant's efficiency in these areas. You're not supposed to be able to make 52% of your shots from this zone. It's the second straight season Durant's been the league's most efficient jump shooter here. Another reminder that Durant's combination of talent, size, smarts, and shooting skill makes him arguably the most unstoppable scorer on earth right now.
Kevin Durant putting on a show!
Last season, Julius Randle won the NBA's Most Improved Player award, and his jumper was a huge reason why. But this season, everything went south for him, including that jumper. No volume scorer was less efficient in these areas than Randle, who made just 26% of his 111 attempts here, largely due to his habit of taking very, very difficult contested shots. Moving into the areas around the elbows and the free throw line, it should come as no surprise that DeMar DeRozan led the NBA in buckets here. DeRozan put on a mid-range clinic all year long, and his 334 buckets here more than doubled the next guy on the list. DeRozan's mid-range arsenal is legendary at this point, and it's reminiscent of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Those guys are iconic in part because of their ability to blend footwork, handles, and jumpers into an unstoppable scoring formula. DeRozan has cracked the code and become one of pro basketball's most dangerous isolation scorers using that same beautiful formula.
DeRozan, so good for mid-range, count it, and one!
Seth Curry may not even be the best shooter in his own family, but he has emerged as one of the finest marksmen in the NBA. When most people think of the Curry family, they think of threes, but this season, Seth proved that he can hit jumpers at elite levels inside the arc too, as he converted a ridiculous 57.6% of his 170 attempts here this season. That's especially notable because some great three-point shooters have trouble stepping in and draining mid-rangers. For proof of that, look no further than Curry's teammate in Brooklyn, Patty Mills. Mills has become one of the NBA's most reliable catch-and-shoot weapons from downtown, but by making less than a third of his 101 shots in this zone, he also earns the distinction of being the least efficient volume shooter in this area this season. Let's move downtown and give some shine to the NBA's best corner three-point shooters. No player in the NBA sunk more corner triples this year than Charlotte's Terry Rozier, who made 99. Corner threes remain the most assist-dependent shots on the floor, and Rozier's volume here has a lot to do with the playmaking of LaMelo Ball and some of his other teammates. But make no mistake, Rozier can shoot it. But nobody was as efficient here as Ben McLemore, who shot 48.7% to lead all shooters in the corners this season. Just a few years ago, McLemore was having a hard time earning playing time in the NBA, so the fact that he's become one of the most reliable corner three-point shooters in the game is especially sweet.
McLemore, shot clock down to 3.
Sorry, Knicks fans, but RJ Barrett was also the least efficient corner man this year. Barrett made just 31.2% of his 109 corner attempts this season, which isn't totally awful, but it's still the worst such figure in the league. Again, Barrett has all-star potential, but he's got to get his shooting efficiency markers up before that can happen. Moving to the left wing, we are quickly reminded who is still the NBA's king of three-point shooting. Stephen Curry led the league with 79 made threes from this zone. Never mind that he broke Ray Allen's record for most threes ever on the right wing.
Splash! There it is!
He's always been deadly from either wing spot. And even though he missed a lot of games this season, nobody else made more than him from the left wing. Like Curry, Chris Middleton has helped his team win titles with his jumper. And by making nearly 44% of his 128 left wing triples this season, Middleton was the most efficient shooter in this zone. Middleton has become an NBA champion and a perennial all-star because he can create and make jumpers at reliable rates.
Oh, shot, that's a three by Middleton.
Unfortunately, Orlando's Chuma Okeke is still figuring out how to blend volume and efficiency from downtown. This year, Okeke made just 28% of his shots from this area, the worst such mark in the league. But the future is still bright for the 23-year-old. Swinging up to the top of the arc, another superstar emerges as the top scorer here. Atlanta's Trae Young is one of the league's best scorers in large part because of shots from this exact spot. As a ball-dominant point guard, Young threatens defenses with his three-pointers, his driving floaters and layups, and his dimes. But he does a huge chunk of his damage from this zone. He might lead the league in buckets from here for years to come. Speaking of young excellence, the Memphis Grizzlies have a lot of it. And while John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. get a lot of the attention, Desmond Bane also deserves some of it. Simply put, Bane is emerging as one of the NBA's best catch-and-shoot threats. This year, he made a ridiculous 49.1% of his 159 attempts from the top of the arc. The young sharpshooter is a key reason Memphis had a breakout season.
That is a problem to leave that guy open.
But not everyone in the league can hit these shots like Bane can, and a pair of young players tied as the least efficient shooters in the zone this year. San Antonio's DeJounte Murray and Orlando's Cole Anthony both converted exactly 1/4 of their attempts from the top of the arc this season. While both of these players have bright futures ahead of them, both need to get their efficiency marks up, especially from this key area. Moving to the right wing, the Utah Jazz learned the hard way that the Pelicans' Devontae Graham has become one of the league's most dangerous shooters from this area.
The ball is away. Graham, hit the three! Three-pointer with 1.3 to play.
This season, Graham made 71 triples from here, the most in the NBA, but he wasn't the most efficient from here. That honor goes to two guys we've already mentioned in this video. Both Desmond Bane and Seth Curry converted 46.9% of their attempts from this area, and both guys are now among the most dangerous catch-and-shoot specialists in pro basketball. Oklahoma City's Lou Dort made just 25.5% of his 110 shots in this area, which was the lowest mark in the league. Dort is an incredible defender who could become one of the league's best 3-and-D players, but not until he starts making a bigger share of his threes. Last but not least, let's look at deep threes. It should come as no surprise to anyone that Trae Young led the league in triples from beyond 27 feet this season. He made 130 deep ones, 14 more than Steph Curry. Sure, it helped that Damian Lillard missed most of the year and that Curry missed some time too, but make no mistake, Young is one of the pioneers of the deep three movement, and he proved it by hitting 53 buckets from beyond 30 feet too. Houston's Eric Gordon had one of the best years of his career this year, and he was especially great from way downtown, where he hit 41.4% of his deep threes. Gordon never seems to get sped up, and he takes advantage when his defender doesn't have a hand up.
Oh my goodness!
Deep threes are really fun, but they're also really hard. Just ask Reggie Jackson, who converted just 17.5% of his 120 deep triples this year. Sure, a bunch of these tries came late in the shot clock, but Jackson's efficiency from way downtown was way below average no matter how you look at it.